What's up guys, it's Ella. Welcome to my channel whether you are new here or not. Today I'm going to be giving you slow burn romance recommendations. I'm very sorry that I'm looking like a little bit of a hot mess. I just got out of the Jeep and it always does really fun stuff to my hair. Anyway, not the point of this video. The point of this video is to give you guys recommendations for one of my absolute favorite tropes, and that is slow burn romance books. Recommendations, etc. Slow burn romance, for those of you that do not know, is a romance trope that is usually like bigger books, and that it is typically when the couple, there's like a buildup of tension and the couple doesn't get together until probably 2/3 of the way through the book. At least, like, it's evident that the characters like each other before that, and there's like these little moments where it's like a will they won't they kind of thing, but they don't really like officially do anything, or there's no confirmation or anything like that until 2/3 of the way through the book. And it's one of my favorites for one, well, there's a lot of reasons why it's one of my favorites. I'm a sucker for like the little moments where it's like the buildup of tension that I just talked about. However, one of the other reasons that it's one of my favorites is because typically they skip the third act breakup. And if you're not new around here, you know how I feel about the third act breakup. I hate it. I absolutely despise the third act breakup. It's something I have to put up with in a lot of books, but I feel like the ones that I'm about to talk about today, with the exception of a few, because some of them are a little bit more like taboo, a lot of them don't have the third act breakup, which is phenomenal. So let's stop rambling and get into the book recommendations. I'm not used to wearing like two necklaces because I typically only wear my Tiffany's one, this one. But this one is because my brother just joined a branch of the military and went to boot camp, and this is the necklace that he took to boot camp, and so my siblings and I all have them, like matching. But I can't get it. They get caught together all the time and I can't get them. So I'm not going to lie to you. Of the 6 or 7 books, let me look. Of the 8 books that I have here, I think 4 of them are Mariana Zapata, because she is the queen of slow burn. I have, I think, 2 or 3 more books to read by Mariana Zapata, and then I'm going to give a full, like, reading guide to Mariana Zapata. But for now, I'm just going to give you, I think these are my 4 favorites. Pretty sure these are like my 4 favorites by her, and just how slow burn they are. And she's the queen. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so I don't have any of these books physically with me, so they're all gonna have to be on the screen. I hate when I do that, but sometimes you have to, we persevere. Anyway, the first book is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata, which is probably her most popular book, I would have to say. This book is about Aiden Graves, who is also known as The Wall of Winnipeg. He is a football player, and his assistant, Vanessa. Aiden is very, like, quiet and closed off and just not a very friendly person. And Vanessa is a very friendly person, and she just feels very underappreciated by Aiden, so she quits. And one day, Aiden shows up at her door after she quits, like he's sitting on her doorstep with a proposition for her because he needs her back, but not as his assistant, as something else. He needs something else from her. I read this book for the first time in 2020. It was the first Mariana Zapata book I read. Absolutely fell in love with her writing and her characters, and this was the first time that I was truly in love with a slow burn, and it has stuck. I have stayed in love with a slow burn. I can't give too much away about this book because going in blind is one of the best parts, but I will say that the tension buildup in this book is chef's kiss, phenomenal. I absolutely loved it, and she's the queen of slow burn for a reason. Strongly recommend The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, because like, especially if it's your first Mariana Zapata book, strongly recommend reading The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, because it's just a phenomenal introduction to Mariana and slow burn, and I just love it. I love it so much. The next one is my favorite Mariana Zapata book of all time. Not even a question. It's All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. This book is one of my top 3 favorite romances of all time. It's probably my most reread book, which is really funny because it's like 500, 600 pages, but I read it I reread the full book. Let's see. I read this book for the first time in January, and I think I've probably reread the entire thing in its entirety 3 times since, and that doesn't count the amount of times that I go back and read little snippets of it. I absolutely love All Roads Lead Here. But let me tell you what it's about. This book is about a girl named Aurora who is just getting out of a long-term relationship, and after she gets out of this long-term relationship, she decides to go back to the town where she spent her very early childhood years. She spent, I think, until she was about 7 or 8 in this town in Colorado that's known for its hiking trails. And then, because her mom was a really big hiker, and then one day her mom goes on a hike and ends up going missing and hasn't been seen since, and she goes back to this Colorado town to get back to her roots, to feel closer to her mom, and to deal with the repercussions of this breakup after a very long, I think it was like 10 to 15 year long relationship. She finds a place to stay in this town on like an Airbnb kind of site, and there is a garage apartment that is put on this site. She takes it, shows up at this garage apartment, only to find out that the apartment was put up by a 16-year-old, and his father, who owns the space, knew nothing about it. The father's name is Tobias Rhodes. All roads lead here. Get it? Get it? Get it? Tobias Rhodes is grumpy, but like not rude. I don't know. I absolutely adore him. This book is so slow burn, but the payoff is fantastic. And this book in particular, I think is a very good example of tension buildup. There are so many times when, you know, they go hiking together, or they'll do things together, or he'll be teaching her about the outdoors and like training her to be a hiker, and it's just, you're like, you can feel the tension is tangible, but nobody has said anything about making it more than the friendship that they have. So it's like, it's grumpy sunshine, yes, but not in the toxic way that grumpy sunshine can sometimes be. It is my favorite Mariana Zapata book ever, which is saying something because her books are my favorites and one of my top 3 romances of all time. So strongly recommend All Roads Lead Here as a slow burn romance and as a romance in general, and just, I love it. Okay, the next Mariana Zapata book on this list, because she's like, I cannot express enough how she's the queen of slow burn. Anyway, From Look Up With Love. This book, I think, is the one that is, this one and Wall of Winnipeg are both shown on Book Talk a lot. Wall of Winnipeg is her most popular book in general, but From Look Up With Love is shown on Book Talk a lot. This book is about 2 ice skaters. It's rivals to lovers, grumpy sunshine. But this girl she is a professional ice skater, and she's come in second her entire life to Ivan Lukov, and her partner ditches her because he says that she's difficult to work with, and so she has to be a solo skater, but she's been trained as like a pair skater her whole life, so she needs another partner, and Ivan Lukov agrees to be, or actually propositions her to be their skating partners. So it's rivals to, you know, co-workers to friends to lovers, which takes a lot of time, right? You would think that takes a lot of time to get through all of those stages in one book. Hence why it's slow burn. It is so good. I love it so much. Have I mentioned how much I love Mariana Zapata books? There is like a scene where one of them gets sick and the other person has to take care of them. Like, I just really love this book. It is slow burn because they don't admit there are feelings for each other for a really long time in the book, but you again get those like very like moments filled with tension, and I loved this book. Shocker. Take a shot every time I say I loved this book. Okay, our last slow burn romance recommendation from Mariana Zapata is Linus. This one I feel like is one of her more underrated books, and I don't know why. This book is so good. Maybe because it's one of her older ones, but let me tell you what it's about. So this book is about a girl who goes to a porn convention with her best friend because her best friend wants to go and she's kind of like forced to go. When she's there, she's waiting in line for her best friend to meet her favorite porn star. While she's waiting in line, this guy that's really cute and that she, you know, is really attracted to comes up and starts a conversation with her about how frustrating and dumb porn conventions are, and he makes it sound like he was also forced to be here. So they start, you know, strike up like a conversation, only for her to then find out that he's a super famous porn star. But the guy that she met, he introduced himself as Tristan, but his porn star like alter ego is Robbie Lingus. So they get to know each other, they continue to like strike up this friendship, but they stay friends because she is not comfortable with his job as a porn star. So this book is Friends to Lovers at its finest. A Friends to Lovers slow burn, I feel like, is just, it's just so good. It's just so good. There's also a really cute dog in this book, which is sometimes not a selling point. In this particular case, it is. Yeah, this book is very underrated by Mariana Zapata. I don't totally understand why, because I feel like it's definitely just as good, if not better, than some of her other more popular books. So, Lingus by Mariana Zapata, strongly recommend, especially if you like Friends to Lovers. And it's a really good example of a slow burn book. Okay, next up we have a very popular recommendation, but I still wanted to put it on here, and that is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I feel like I don't talk about this book on my channel very much because it's so popular, and I try to stray away from giving super popular recommendations that you get everywhere. But this book is one of my absolute favorites. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely adore it. My best friend is actually, I have my copy loaned to her, and it's just one of my favorites. It's about this girl who needs, her name's Lena. I keep forgetting to give the girls' names in this. This book is about a girl named Lena who needs a date to her cousin's wedding in Spain, and her coworker, who she doesn't really like, his name is Aaron Blackford, and he agrees to go and be her date to this wedding if she will go to a different event with him. And so this book, the reason that it's so slow burn, I think, is because there's that fake dating trope, and a lot of times of fake dating, there's the narrator thinking like, I'm into him, but is he doing this particular thing because he's into me, or is it because because we're fake dating? Like, is it for the plot, you know? And so I feel like a lot of times fake dating books will be a little bit more slow burn because it takes a while for the two characters to realize that the other person isn't acting the way they are for the fake dating aspect, but rather because they're actually interested in the person, like in the other person. So that's very, very much what this book is. This book does have the 3rd act breakup. I know, but I wasn't super frustrated by it, and the conclusion was satisfying enough that it kind of did away with that, and it was okay. Like, it not did away. What am I even saying? Oh my god, my brain is broken. I found the ending to be satisfying enough that there wasn't any lingering frustration from the 3rd act breakup, like there are in some books that I have read pretty recently. Okay, now the next 3 are all indie published romances, and some of them, I think they're not as popular. You might have heard of them, but maybe not, and anyway, you'll see. 2 of them are a little more like taboo and fun, but okay, here we go. We have The Stopover by T.L. Swan, and kind of all of the Miles High Club books, but especially The Stopover. This book is about a girl and a guy, so aren't they all? This book is about a girl who is flying out to be interviewed for her dream job, and she is sitting next to this guy on the plane that they have the same layover, and on that layover they hook up. They like get just, you know, are really attracted to each other at first encounter when they're sitting next to each other on the plane, and so they hook up over their layover, only for her to get her dream job and realize that the guy that she hooked up with on her layover is the CEO of the company named Jameson Miles. So it's a workplace romance, grumpy sunshine, and slow burn. Obviously, as we are discussing slow burn romances. This book is the first in the Miles High Club series. They're all workplace, grumpy sunshine, and like slow burn. T.L. Swan is another one of those authors that really likes to do a slow burn. I think that in this one, again, there is the 3rd act breakup, but once again, there's those like tense moments that really lead to like a powerful build-up, I guess. Huh? This book has all the signs of a great slow burn. It has the tense little moments that you're like, will they, won't they? And a spoiler alert, they do. They start the book. They do. And then there's the will they, won't they again. And then at the end they do. Spoiler alert, but it is a romance. So that's how they work. Okay, now we're getting a little more taboo, a little more unconventional. We have The Unrequited by Saffron Kent. Is this by Saffron Kent? I think this is by Saffron Kent. This is by Saffron Kent. This book, I'm not gonna lie, wasn't one of my favorites, but I'm not a huge taboo romance reader. I feel like if you are a huge taboo romance reader, you will really, really enjoy this book because it was very well written. It is about a girl who is in love with her college professor. She ends up working with him, like being a teacher's assistant and stuff, because he's very clearly interested in her too, but he's like married and also her professor. So it's a little bit... yeah, that's why it's called The Unrequited, because she is so in love with him and he just cannot love her back because he's got too much going on, you know? Like a marriage and his career. Though for those reasons, like because he has so much holding him back from the relationship, it is a slow burn romance because they have to kind of deal with all of the things that before they can finally get together, they have to kind of deal with all the things standing in his way, like his wife. So there is cheating in this book. If that's something that bothers you, don't read it. But there is. There is. Anyway, this is slow burn, and that's what it's about. I should not do this. The last of the eight books is Sweet Dandelion by Michaela Smeltzer. I know another duology by her is going around and went around especially this summer. The Confidence of Wildflowers, or the Wildflowers duet, whatever that is. This book is about a girl, she's 18, she's a senior in high school, and she moves to a new school because something terrible happened at her old school, and as a result of the terrible thing that happened at her old school, she has to see a guidance counselor, and she ends up falling in love with a guidance counselor. So if you're into like a teacher-student romance, and an age gap romance, and taboo romance, this is for you. It's a weird book. I'm not a huge fan of teacher-student, and I'm not a huge fan of like age gap where one of the people is still in high school. It is legal, like she is 18, but still it's weird. I think that I read this when I was still kind of figuring out my romance reading taste. I read this a long time ago, and I won't ever reread it, but the cover is very beautiful. However, if you, like I said, if you like taboo romances, if you like age gap romances, and if you like teacher-student, I strongly recommend that you read this because it is really, really well done. It is slow burn because of all the things that I just said. Like, they can't be together, and it's like it's forbidden, and I feel like a lot of times when a romance is forbidden, it also ends up being slow burn because they have a lot to figure out before they can be together. So that's why this one is slow burn. Not for me, but I am recommending it because it's definitely for someone. It is a really, really well-written book, and if these were tropes that I enjoyed, I would have really enjoyed the book because I think Michaela Smeltzer is a really phenomenal writer. Okay, so those were my slow burn romance recommendations. I'm so sorry if I seemed very scatterbrained in this video. I feel like I seem scatterbrained in most videos, but this one was especially rough. I don't know why I feel qualified to give romance or to give book recommendations in general because I can barely get a coherent sentence out. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed those recommendations. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined, and I will see you when I see you. Bye guys.